how's it going? Today we're going to talk about 5 different varieties of trees that I love, that are easy to find, that are easy to grow. And I know it's overwhelming sometimes when you go down to the garden center, especially if you're a beginner. You see all the different varieties and you wonder, what do I need? What do I need to put in my garden? And it depends on what you're after too. Aaron's actually joining me today because he's the tree lover.
Yeah,
of the
not
bunch.
Expert, just an admirer.
The first type of tree is a Honeylocust. Specific variety is Shademaster, which super common variety, especially if you're in a zone 4 through 9. That's where they like to grow. I think you could find them at pretty much any garden center in those growing zones. The thing I like the best about this tree is that they are easy to take care of. There's no mess, and they are deciduous, but their leaves are so small, they refer to them as the rakeless tree. So those leaves turn a bright, beautiful yellow in the fall, and then they just kind of gracefully flutter to the ground. I love this tree so much. Everything about it is just wonderful, but they just fall to the ground, and then they just blow away. You just don't ever really even notice them being an issue.
In a lawn, you can mow them up really easily because of how small they are.
Yeah. I think also those leaves give them their branching habit gives them a very refined, like elegant kind of stately look. But those leaves also bring that as well because like we just planted a London plane tree, which have like the largest leaves ever. Those are like a catalpa. They have the big heart-shaped leaves, which gives you a very weighty, bulky appearance, bold appearance, which sometimes that's what you want. And that's what we want in the space where we put it. But other times you want something that has a little bit more of a fine look to it. And this one grows 45 feet tall, 35 feet wide with a very strong horizontal branching. And with those little leaves on it, it just has such a stately look. So even in the wintertime when it doesn't have leaves on it, it looks like this beautiful piece in your garden. Oh, I love it. They do bloom in the spring. So there is that. There is a short window of time where they are dropping their little blooms on the ground. So that's a little messy. But again, they're small and you use a blower. We've got a couple of locust trees that are over walkways and we just use the blower and blow all the blooms off. It's not a situation where you have to rake them up. My parents actually have one over their entryway. So they will stick to the bottoms of your shoe and you'll track them into the house a little bit. So there is that short window of time. Aaron was reminding me
like a totally messy tree. Awesome. But I don't think you can call them a non-mess
It's such a short
tree.
window though. I feel like not having to clean up the leaves and really not having to do anything other than blowing the leaves away, or the blooms rather away, makes it a nice, easy tree to take care of.
Sure.
They're also fast growing, you guys. We planted 3 last year, and they've put on so much growth.
What would you think? Somewhere
Double?
between 3 and 5 feet a year?
Yeah, I would say so because ours have doubled at least in size, and they look so great. Also, I think because of their kind of mess-free nature without the leaves and such, you see them a lot of the time in parking lots, commercial applications, because you just eliminate a lot of the cleanup need. You do, however, need to go into their canopy every once in a while and lighten the load. And I think that's probably important of any tree that you put in. You'll want to go in and cut out some of those interior branches so that the whole tree has good airflow, good light. The whole tree will have a better shape, a better look to it, better silhouette if you do that. Also, some of the older varieties and some of the varieties you can still get your hands on will produce seeds, which they're long. They look like long flat beans or
a banana peel kind of.
Aaron calls them a banana tree. This Shademaster is seedless, so it's not something that you have to worry about with that one, which is great. There's also another variety that we do have experience with that we both don't really care for quite as much. It's called Sunburst, and I think the reason why we don't care for it as much is that when it comes out with new growth in the spring, it's kind of a bright yellow. And it doesn't ever, it deepens, as you move forward into the season, but it doesn't ever deepen to that nice,
I think the
glossy,
reason
deep green.
people buy them is because they stay a little smaller, and that appeals to a lot of people, having a little bit of a smaller tree while still getting a locust. But in our experience, they just don't seem to be as hardy of a tree as the Shademaster.
They don't stay that much smaller. They're 5 feet shorter is where they max out at. So it's insignificant.
It's on paper. It's you look at it and you're like, well, we don't really need a giant tree, so let's go with the Sunburst. But don't buy it.
There's also another variety called Street Keeper, and I know when I was down at the garden center, we sold a lot of those because they stay more narrow. They top out at 20 feet wide. They'll still get the 45 feet tall, so you get that nice, that nice height, but they don't get quite as wide, which for, some situations you need. The next variety, number 2, is the Redpointe maple. Now, maples are a huge category, and there are so many different sub-categories. There's silver maples, Norway maples, red maples, Fremani, Shantung maples, big tooth maple, Japanese maples. I mean, it goes on and on and on. There's even Acer Negundo. So maples are an Acer. Acer Negundos are box elder trees. Sensation box elder, which we have in our area, and they're technically a maple tree. So you go in and you look at all of these different maples and you think, what in the world? What?
It's hard to know which one to get if you're not
familiar. And I think the best thing too, because a lot of tags can be misleading based on the area that you're in. We get Japanese maples in down at the garden center here in Eastern Oregon, and they are shipped in from the western side of the state. So the tag says full sun. These Japanese maples, they want full sun. Well, they do over there, but over here, where our climate's a bit different, they fry in our full sun. We have to protect them in the afternoon. So I think, the best thing, if you've got a reputable garden center, ask somebody there for their recommendations. And oftentimes they won't carry things that don't do as well in your area. So it's a good thing just to go and look and see what the offerings are, talk to gardeners in your area, and you'll probably get, in all of these categories, you'll get a lot of good information from people who are doing it in your area. But the Redpointe maple has proven to be a really, really nice tree. Mm-hmm. They grow about 45 feet tall by 30 or 35 feet wide, and they do it fast.
It's a really fast-growing tree.
It really is. Now, for maples in our area, we have very high pH, so we can struggle with some chlorosis problems, which means iron deficiency, and it shows in their leaf color. So you'll see, dark green veining with yellowing leaf tissue. That's usually indicative of an iron problem. It is for us anyway. There are other issues that cause leaf yellowing, but in maple trees here, we do treat ours with chelated iron. If we do that on a consistent basis, which you have been, the trees look beautiful.
Once you know what to do, it's really not difficult. I just sprinkle a little bit of that chelated iron and then water it in. And I do that I do it about every month because I don't want to deal with iron issues. Mm-hmm. You could probably do it every other month, maybe 3 times a year, and you'll never have an issue. You could buy 1 bag of that chelated iron, which is expensive. It's probably going to cost you somewhere, depending on size, between $50 to $100, and it'll probably last you years. Mm-hmm. You'll probably lose it before
you measure it out in teaspoons.
Right.
Yeah. Did you already say that?
Yeah. You just sprinkle just a little bit and water it in.
Right.
So it doesn't take much.
No. The Redpointes are a seedless maple, which is nice, so you don't have all those helicopters flying around. We do notice that the trees that have the little helicopters, which are called samaras, right, or something, I don't know how to pronounce it, but those typically have a darker green color in their leaf, while the Redpointes are a nice medium green. They brighten up to a beautiful bright red in the fall, and they have a very dominant central leader. So it's pruning is very easy on this one. It's very obvious to tell where that leader is, and the only pruning we really do on ours is limbing them up, because we've got most of ours over driveway areas and we want them to be nice and tall. And that's a nice thing about this tree. It gets so tall that you can limb it up and have it look appropriate proportionally.
The Redpointe has a really great shape to it. All the ones that we've planted, they all grow in kind of a Christmas tree shape, like you said, a very prominent leader, and tapered down. And
pyramidal.
Pyramidal. Yeah, very much so. Rather than some are more pear shaped.
Well, our autumn blaze maples are a little bit more oblong, is that
right.
oval shaped, and that's an amazing tree as well. And that one grows 50 feet tall by 40 feet wide, and that's what we've got lining our driveway, because we wanted it to be this kind of grand looking, these big old trees that are all limbed up so you can go underneath them, and they also get the nice bright red color. And that one is a mix between a red maple, which is what the Redpointe is, an Acer rubrum, and a silver maple. So you've got some different characteristics there. We do have several other varieties of maples around our garden. A few of my favorites. I love the October Glory, you guys. Oh, it's got great big leaves that have very sharp points. The lobes are very sharp. It's very some maple leaves are like a little bit more rounded on their lobes. This one's very distinctive, and the color in the fall is gorgeous. It's red, but it skews more orange, and we've got a lot of yellows around the area where this one sits, so the contrast is gorgeous. And it grows 40 by 35. Now, all of them that we've mentioned so far are a zone 5 through 9, but there is another type of maple we planted last year. It's a type of sugar maple, so Acer saccharum. It's called Apollo, and it is an interesting shape. It grows 30 feet tall by 10 feet wide, so it's a very slender tree, very large leaves, very tight growth habit. And that one, I mean, sugar maples are probably one of the best for fall color, I think.
Yeah.
They're just gorgeous. So I cannot wait to see this one. It looks good now, and it's putting on new growth, which is surprising. Second year, usually it's the third year you start seeing a lot of growth, but it has pushed new leaves, and I'm excited to see how that one forms up because it looks like an absolute point. Number 3 is a Redmond linden, and linden trees, you guys, there's a ton of different varieties just like there are in all of these categories, so really explore it. Honestly, and I should have said this in the beginning of the video, you should go to J.F. Schmidt's website. We'll link it down below. So much information, and they put it out in such a way. There's a tab up at the top where you can go to like tree charts, and you can look at all the different categories of trees, and then it lines out like fruit, fall color, size, structure, and it does it in such a pointed way that you can like pit one variety against another, and you can decide which one you want to get based on all of the information laid out right before your eyes. Like, you don't have to do any. It's awesome. So I would check that out. But the Redmond linden, while it doesn't grow as big as some of the ones we've talked about already, it's got a lot going for it. Lindens do in general because they're not fussy. You don't have to treat them with anything. You don't have to spray them. They're not affected in our area anyway. Everybody has their own thing, but here they're just, you plant them, takes them a minute to get going with the growing, but once they do, they're awesome trees. So our neighbors, you've probably seen them in videos. If you've seen any of our videos, in the back of the south garden, they've got a line of pine trees and Redmond lindens, and it's one of the most beautiful things, especially in the fall. They've got like this electric yellow color. It's a beautiful avenue. That's their private driveway, and it's this beautiful avenue of yellow. I just enjoy it so much, and I'm so thankful that they have it there, and we adopt it as part of our own landscape in a way, at least for the view that it provides. And my parents have Redmond lindens in their garden as well. There's a variety called Corinthian, and we have 3 of those planted. They grow 45 feet tall, 15 feet wide, so something that's easier to tuck into a smaller area. They have a very strong, again, leader, very thick, very dense, and the very strong branching on all of these plants, and their bark kind of skews red. It's like a cinnamon red color, so it's very pretty winter interest. They bloom in the spring, and they are so fragrant.
Very fragrant.
So fragrant.
Kind of like, at first I thought it was like drier, like a dryer vent?
Dryer sheet.
Like a dryer
sheet smell.
Yeah, like
It's
is somebody
awesome.
doing
I love
laundry
it.
around here? But it's just the trees.
It just like perfumes the air with this wonderful clean scent. I love it. Oh, we got to get some more on the back side of our garden.
Yeah.
Like, all of the linden interest so far is up in the south garden and then in our neighbor's yard. So we need to draw some more of that back in. So their blooms are a bright yellow, and when you contrast that with they have glossy dark green leaves, it's a really pretty look. And I don't know if I mentioned this already, but they are hardy down to zone 3. So the most winter hardy out of all of them so far we've talked about today.
They keep their blooms mostly all summer, don't they?
Well, it's not the yellow part, but they've got like this little like tail, like that little tail part that comes out. Probably have a picture through. I'm so technical in my terms. But they are left with that little thing that stays on for a long time, and it gives it kind of a whirling effect. Like,
yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. Pictures will do it much more justice than I can. I was looking around recently, and I saw weeping silver linden. Have you heard of that?
No.
You should look it up.
Okay, I will.
Because and they're rated for our growing zone, and I don't recall seeing. I've seen the sterling linden. My parents just planted one of those down in their orchard area, and it's beautiful. The back sides of their leaves look silver, so when the wind blows, it's got a very sparkly kind of appearance, and the leaves are big on that one. Do you see it?
I don't know. It kind of looks a little bit like it needs water.
Silver colored plants sometimes can look that way, like they're on the dry side.
Like the weeping part of it is kind of a little bit like, ooh, is it kind of...
Oh, I didn't see that at all. Oh, I love that one. I was so excited for you to look at that one. Hold on. I'm going to look at more pictures of it. Just give me 1 second. You might not be looking at the right picture, Aaron.
I probably am looking at the wrong picture.
Oh, they're so pretty.
Well, we could try one. We got space. We can tuck it in somewhere.
These get big though. I think that one gets every bit as big as, okay. Yeah, what is this one right here? I could spend a long time looking at pictures of plants. Number 4 is a birch tree called Royal Frost, which is my favorite. I think it's my favorite birch variety that exists. I have a whole bunch of them in our garden. I think like 8 or 9 of them, and we picked up 3 more for a new area of our garden. They're gorgeous. Now they do get quite large. Like they'll get 40 feet tall by 25 foot spread, but they're not bulky. They've got smaller shaped leaves or smaller sized leaves, and they kind of move, like they flutter in the breeze, and they've got kind of gracefully arching branches. They're just very architecturally beautiful, and they're not just like a poof of a tree. They've got a lot of movement to them, which I love. And then they get the beautiful catkins in the spring, and kind of gives it like almost like a waterfall appearance. And it's not a mess. You might think that might, they do fall on the ground, but they're little again, insignificant. They kind of just blow away. So those leaves that are purple bronze in the summer, they turn to a kind of orange, brighter, purpley red in the fall. Just absolutely gorgeous. Now birch trees do like water, so that's something to consider. They want full sun, but they want a very moist spot, which can be a problem solver sometimes. If you've got a wet corner, we did in our last garden, I planted a Royal Frost down in that spot, and it soaked up all that water, used it all, and took care of it for me. But it's a consideration. If you've got drip irrigation, you may want to add a few more emitters on there, because that one's going to want more than the rest of the stuff you've got planted around it. They also some varieties are less susceptible to boring insects, but some, like especially some of your older varieties, are not. This one has a fairly high resistance, but we still treat ours. So after they're done with their bloom cycle, we do a systemic insecticide, and that takes care of the boring insects. Otherwise, the trees will get borers at some point in their life cycle here, and then it weakens the tree, and they'll fall over and lose big branches, and the whole thing can fall down. So it's one of those considerations. Like I probably just scared everybody away from ever planting a birch tree. It's super easy to do. It's just an annual thing and it may not be something you even have to worry about. You may not have borers in your area. It's just something that we have in ours.
Can they live in water?
I think a lot of birch trees can live in water. A lot of them live right on a creek bed, right, or a river, right along the river. They're just one of those that can handle it. There's like the heritage birch too. We've got some of those which have nice peely bark, green leaves. We've got those in like triple trunk form, which is neat. There's also another variety called Renaissance Reflection that I absolutely love. I have 2 planted out in the south garden really close together, and we just picked up a third. So we can finish that trio. That's the other thing. Birch trees are really wonderful to make. You can buy them as multi-trunks, but you can also plant them like root balls right next to each other and make them into a triple trunk tree if you want to do that, if you like that look. And I do like that look quite a lot. It makes it look a little bit more natural and gives it a different structure, especially if you've got single trunk trees nearby. Just gives a different interest. And that one is resistant to the birch borer. And the Royal Frost is resistant to Japanese beetles. Now I can't speak on experience. That is what I have read about that variety, so something to consider. And the last tree, number 5, is a crabapple called Indian Magic. This tree, you guys, so the reason I fell in love with this one is Aaron's parents planted one in their backyard, and Aaron's dad, Paul, he sends me pictures all the time, especially when there's a change of season or if we just had a fresh snow, and he sends me a picture of that tree because it's so beautiful. It's not a huge tree either. It grows about 15 by 15. We just planted one in our garden this year, and I'm so excited about it. So you don't need an enormous space to put this one. The flowers that it has in the spring, and all these crab apples, they're wonderful for spring interest, and most of the time they're wonderful for all seasons. All 4 seasons they look pretty, but this one has like deep pink flowers, and it loads up. At least Aaron's parents loads up with blooms in the spring. I hope mine does the same thing. And then those blooms are followed by these kind of orangish red fruit that are persistent. And so that's one key word when you're looking at crab apples to keep in mind. Because you might think, oh, I don't want crab apples. No, I don't want that fruit mess on my ground, and I can totally understand that, especially in a grassy area. But if you get one that says it has persistent fruit, that means that those fruit will hang on to the branches of the tree. They will not fall off. Well, they will fall off eventually the next spring when new growth pushes them out, but typically the birds clean them up in the wintertime and it's a non-issue. You might find 1 or 2 little fruits scattered on the ground, but you're not going to get a whole crop of crab apples on the ground, and they're little. If you want a crab apple that you're guaranteed to not have fruit with, and there's probably more varieties now, but the one I'm familiar with is Spring Snow. We do have one of those planted as well in a multi-trunk form. It has a golden bark, like the most bright golden bark ever, green leaves, and bright white huge blooms in the spring, and it is loaded. I think I've got a bunch of pictures and video of that. Just loads up. The pollinators love it, and it's sterile. No fruit will come of those flowers. So if you're wanting to not deal with that at all, then that's a really good variety. But I love crab apples that have the persistent fruit because it adds such an amazing element to your winter landscape. It's huge on winter interest. And just like all the other categories, you'll find crab apples that will range, from real small, like 10 feet by 10 feet, all the way up to, I don't know what the biggest crab apple is out there.
30?
Yeah, maybe 30, 35 by 25, 30 foot spread. They're not enormous shade trees, but we have a Donald Wyman in our front yard, which I really love. And that's not an enormous tree.
15 feet tall, maybe?
I think it will top out at like 20, and it gets maybe 25 feet wide, a little wider than it is tall, but that casts a fair amount of shade. So it's a really nice tree. It has white blooms in the spring, and it has really beautiful fruit that the birds, oh my word. It loads up with birds. It's so fun, and it's right out our great room windows so we can watch those birds in the wintertime, and it's where we hang our bird feeders as well. It's like the perfect location for the birds to come feed. And crab apples are extremely low maintenance. Extremely, especially if you get ones with persistent fruit. We don't have to treat them with anything at any point of the year. We don't have to, you just plant it and watch them grow, which is very nice. And you guys, that is it for our kind of like top 5 trees. I don't know, it kind of changes all the time, but those 5 always are kind of like the mainstays in our garden. Kind of depends on the year and what things are performing the best. Every year is a little bit different. Like I would say silhouette wise, the weeping willow is probably my favorite silhouette out there, but you know that they're a weak, messy tree. We've got some really beautiful ones out there, and we'll probably touch on those later. But if you're just getting started, we hope that this list of just 5 varieties was helpful, and just talking through some of those things that we deal with those trees, and or don't deal with those trees. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful, and we will see you in the next video.